Hello and welcome to Talking Good Game. It's the match preview of West Ham United against Manchester United. Kick-off 2 p.m. on Sunday, live on Sky Sports. West Ham had success over Manchester United last season at the London Stadium. We're here to discuss where we'll be repeating that exact success. And Gonzo, let's start with yourself with the same question as always. Can I get your thoughts on Manchester United?
Yeah, well, it's more the ghost of Manchester United past, more than Manchester United, really. They're a shadow of their former selves. They're sort of haunted by Alex Ferguson, I feel, and to a lesser degree, David Gill, because I think Edward Woodward's come in there and done a terrible job. They don't seem to have any real sort of motion going forward. The identity's been lost. I can see what they're trying to do now by bringing in younger players, and they've been linked with another couple today. But for too long, they've been taking 2 steps backwards in terms of their manager, in terms of what they're trying to do, and they sort of find themselves in a situation now where Manchester City and Liverpool are the teams with the identity, with the ethos, with the clear direction from a manager at the helm. They seem to be struggling around looking for it. It's, as I say, it's obviously about the younger players now, but we find ourselves in a position where we have some players that would get into the Manchester United first team, which was never really the case, mate.
Tom, the Red Devils, may I have your thoughts on them?
Yeah, pretty much similar to what Gonzo said. You know, they're I think they have lost their identity. I think obviously whoever's sort of come in as manager, because of the amount of success that Sir Alex has actually had there, all the fans expect that instant success straight afterwards, but it's not been like that. And obviously the fact they've gone through so many managers in such a short space of time, which obviously isn't say common with United, obviously because of the managers they've had in the past. It's almost set them up for failure before they've had a chance to actually succeed. So, they do have a good group of young players. You can obviously see the direction that they're going in, which is they want to sort of return to their old ways of bringing young players through. Unfortunately, a lot of those haven't come through their academies, but still they're good, young youth team players. So I think Gonzo's right as well. Every time they seem to take a step forward, they take 2 steps back. They had such a good run under Ollie when he first started last season, and then they had an abysmal end to the season, one of the worst in the league. So it depends really which United decide to get out of bed, because you can get the one that turned up against Leicester the other week, or a side that can sort of turn up and get drawn 3 or 4-0. But I think since I've been alive, the least gap that there has been between us and United, the 2 clubs. There's really not a lot to separate us these days.
I think they've lost the fear factor, really. I feel a bit sorry for Ole. I think, the last couple of seasons, Chelsea's been sort of the poison chalice. I think Man United's now got that sort of description of the manager's job. I think Frank Lampard's gone in there and he's got a little bit of pressure off. I think Ole's got the same, but I think he's got an opportunity here at Man United to take advantage of his likeability. And I'm not sure he is grasping that opportunity with both hands yet, but I think there's signs of it from their game last night in the Europa League. The youngsters they played, I'll ask you a question about the youngsters in a second. But I think there's an opportunity there for Ole. For years, Man United were able to pick the best talent around the Premier League. If someone outside the top 4, as it was back then, had a really good player, Man United could go and buy them. If Man United knocked on the door, you opened it and said, well, here you go. Whether it was Carrick, whether it was Rio Ferdinand, didn't matter. You got those players. It's different now. We've seen it in the summer whenever they got linked to West Ham players or Leicester players. I know they got Maguire in the end, but look how much they had to pay for him. None of us are that scared. We all think, well, the player might not want to go to Man United, and if they do, they've got to pay big money. The big factor for me is the wage, the ceiling of wages. Man United used to pay the biggest. They still do, but now teams like West Ham are paying $100,000 a week as well. So you don't necessarily have to go to Old Trafford to earn the big bucks. You can do it in the top 10 essentially in the Premier League. Gonzo, is this an opportunity though for Ole to bring in the young players? They're talking about Greenwood and most, but they've also got Gomez, they've got Chong in there. McTominay's obviously come through and sort of established himself in the first team. They put them all out in the Europa League last night. Lampard's getting his opportunity to do at Chelsea. Has Ole got to do the same thing at Old Trafford?
I think there's a lot more leeway for Lampard at Chelsea than there is for Solskjaer at Man U. it would not surprise me if he was maybe not the next manager out the door on the sack list, but I wouldn't be surprised if in 3-4 months' time Solskjaer is no longer at the helm at Manchester United. I think because of the transfer embargo at Chelsea, because of I think his recent work at Derby, where he had a couple of the Chelsea players on loan, and I think because of his relationship with Abramovich, which goes back years and years, I think Lampard is in a far better position than Solskjaer is. It's almost as if Solskjaer's allies aren't really at the club anymore. Woodward was really a marketing guy, and he's now in charge. And they wanted Pochettino, so he was very much the second best there. And I think it's difficult for him. I mean, really, you're looking at a point now where if Woodward's in charge, he's a marketing man. Well, the marketing dream at Manchester United is to have Paul Pogba playing well, because he sells lots and lots of shirts. He has a big social media presence. And if Solskjaer's not getting a tune out of him, and I wouldn't particularly overly blame Solskjaer for it, then I think there's an awful lot that can go wrong. I see what he's trying to do with the youngsters. I think he's right to try and stamp an identity on Manchester United. I think they do need a direction, but everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction. I do like Gomez looks a good young player as well. But when I look at players like McTominay, I don't look at McTominay and think he is because they need a lot of these guys coming through. I don't look at McTominay and think, oh look, he's Roy Keane.
Careful.
Okay, well, I don't think he's Roy Keane reincarnated. He's more of the second coming of Darren Fletcher, if you like.
I'm not biting. I'm
not trying to reel you in. I'm just saying. I don't think. I think he's gonna. Don't be surprised if McTominay plays out some of his days at a mid-table Premier League club. He's not going to be one of the best players in the world, and that's what Man United tend to do. Used to do.
Tom, years ago, Man United, it was title race or nothing for Man United, but what's a successful season for them this season?
Well, I think obviously it depends if you ask, United fans, or you ask sort of neutral fans, or just fans in general, because I think neutral fans would say finishing in a Europa League place in a good cup run, I think, these days for Man United. I just think that the attitude that they have in the team, I just don't think that's the sort of winning mentality. It's, something happens, people throw their dummy out the pram. I think just the players that they do have there, a la Pogba and a few others, just completely money orientated and just don't seem to care half the time. So for me, I think for them is a Europa League spot and a top sort of 6-7 finish, I think. But it's obviously, if you ask United fans, you see how passionate they are, and some old geezer crying because he's never seen the likes of it before at United and stuff. I just think it's the expectations that they have at the minute. It's just unrealistic. But I can understand, obviously, it's a massive club. It's probably the biggest club in the UK in terms of its stature. And, unfortunately for them, they've taken a massive step backwards. But I think their fans have to be slightly more realistic these days, that, the top four isn't as, click of the fingers and it's done every season. It's, they have taken a giant leap backwards.
Team news for Man United is good news for West Ham. Martial is out, Paul Pogba is out, Luke Shaw is out, and Dan James is a doubt, but is expected to make it. Tom, which players do you fear the most ahead of Sunday / admire the most in that Man United team?
I really like to look at that Dan James. He's got that sort of success story of sort of coming from nothing, really, just a little bit further down the road from me in York, and Beverley Way. And he's had to work hard, and he's given the platform the last few games, and he's obviously scored a few great goals. For United. But I think that attacking threat, obviously, with Greenwood, who scored last night, who looked by all accounts very good. All of their youngsters really, but I guess it's all subjective to how they play on the day. Obviously, I could say probably Rashford, I guess, but then again, would I put Rashford ahead of Haller at the minute? Probably not. I don't know, just 1 to 11, looking at a United side that might be a lot weaker at the weekend. I think other than maybe, I don't know, one of the centre halves or Wan-Bissaka, I think there's not really anybody in that team that sort of I would Blanc and put in our team at the minute. So, but in terms of fear factor, I guess the one standout player will probably be Rashford, because his pace can frighten any sort of defensive line when he's through on goal.
Gonzo, your thoughts on the individual Man United players, please?
Yeah, well, Pogba and Anthony Martial are really good players, but if they're not playing, that's a real benefit, because if you've got... In years gone by, someone like Juan Mata would have gone to see Juan Mata get a renewed contract. If what they're going to do is throw Juan Mata and Pereira up against us, then quite frankly, we've probably seen better players, against Norwich and stuff when we played them and stuff like that. So I do think when Wan-Bissaka, they got a really good player. There's someone that get in our team, of course. I think Harry Maguire would get in our team. I think Rashford would probably get in our team as the right winger. I think that's probably fair as well. I don't think there's an awful lot to fear there. I do like Greenwood. He does look like a magnificent player, and they'll be pinning a lot of their hopes on him as well. But I mean, would Jesse Lingard be worrying Declan Rice? I wouldn't have thought so. Would Felipe Anderson switching wings fancy his chances against Wan-Bissaka and Ashley Young? I would imagine he certainly would. And I just think, even if they've got Maguire there, who have got Lindelof or whatever his name is playing next to him.
Lindelof, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad player. Looks a good player, but I'm not overly concerned about them. I mean, possibly their best two players aren't playing. De Gea, of course, excellent goalkeeper, just signed a new contract, but I thought he was shocking last season. I thought he was one of the worst goalkeepers in the league last season. I wouldn't swap him for Fabianski.
I'm going to defend McTominay a bit, not because you've criticised him for that. I think he's underrated away from Man United. I think Man United fans really rate him. I think he's a very, very good player. Would I have him instead of Declan Rice? No. But I'd certainly have him alongside Declan Rice, that's for sure. I think he's a brilliant player. Every time I watch Man United, he's one of the best players on the pitch for me. By all accounts, I thought he was the best player against Leicester last weekend. And I actually thought Pereira was one of their better players against Leicester too. So I know you're sort of doubting him, Gonzo, but I'm a bit more wary of him than you are, should we say. But I actually hope they play Matic on Sunday. Fred's mobile. Matic is just slow, ponderous. Our attacking midfielders would have joy against Matic. That would be their weak link. Dan James worries me the most, a bit like Tom. Me and Gonzo did a preview on another channel. I'll talk about it at the end, and I said there that if Ollie puts him up against Aaron Creswell at left back, they will get joy. He's just too quick. He's just too fast. Fredericks will be able to keep up with him to an extent, but he's not going to be able to tackle him every time with that. He's going to have to commit fouls, and I will get onto that later in the show. But we're ready to talk about West Ham now. But before we do, just a little reminder, because we're at home, we obviously have our boats. If you want to get your tickets and join us for beer and a barbecue, or more than one beer, then you can get your tickets. The link is in the description below. We will be filming fan cams on the boats after as well, so you want to come along and have a little 4 or 5 minute interview with us. Just find myself or Charlie and say, hey, I would like to do a fan cam, and we'll get it done. Now, left back, Masuaku is obviously suspended. Pellegrini in his press conference has majorly hinted that Aaron Creswell will be starting there. However, let's pretend he didn't say that for argument's sake. Gonzo, your three options is Aaron Creswell, Ben Johnson, who hasn't played for the under-23s tonight. We're recording this on Friday evening. He's not in the under-23 squad, so he could still be in the squad for Sunday. Then, of course, you've got Pablo Zabaleta, who came on against Aston Villa. Which one would you like to see start on Sunday?
I think I would still play Aaron Creswell. I think there's a lot of other times I possibly would be looking to play Ben Johnson, although his future is probably at right back. I just think it's the solid option. And I think there's so much of us doesn't need to be solid at the moment. We do have lots of fantasy, lots of flair players. Don't forget, Aaron Creswell was playing centre back under David Moyes as well. So he's got a bit of defensive solidity. We can sacrifice that. We have enough going forward. I just would like him to sit a little bit if that's the case, and just stay a little bit tighter next to Ogbonna. So that would be my choice.
Tom, would you agree with that?
Not necessarily that I don't agree with it, but I differ. I would go with Ben Johnson. I think that he was thrown in last year against Man City, so he had the toughest game possible. And like I said, if we want to become a sort of bigger team, we need to not be able to have this mentality of it's Manchester United, we have to fear them or whatever. So I think the easiest time for him would be to come in against a United side that maybe without the likes of their best attacking players. And for one, he's quicker than Zabaleta and probably Cresswell. His defensive duties as well in pre-season, he had some flashes of brilliance at times. Other times, he showed his immaturity. But for me, I just think the way that Cresswell has been recently, I just don't find him as dependable as he used to be. And I'm sure that most West Ham fans feel like that. And like we said, if he is going against somebody who does have a turn of pace, we've seen so many times Kyle Walker this year, Adama Traore against Wolves last year. As soon as somebody gets a run on him, he's just nowhere to be seen. And for me, that's why I would give it to probably the young and hungrier Ben Johnson. That ultimately he might end up changing and going to his natural position at right back. But no, I would see no issue with starting this weekend, and I don't think that it's too deeper end for him to jump into. Not like it was against Man City anyway.
I don't know how you can claim that Johnson's hungrier than Aaron Creswell, because I would imagine actually Aaron Creswell's got a massive flipping point to prove, because last season he was left back, then he got injured, so he lost his place, and then obviously this season he's had to sit on the bench, if he even got on the bench. Sometimes he's been out the squad, and he's had to watch Masuaku become sort of this season's fan favourite, if you like. There's a big hoo-ha for Masuaku. He's now got an opportunity that he wasn't going to get through performances. He's only getting it because Masuaku got sent off. He's got to grab that. I would start Aaron Creswell as well, and it's not because of the reasons Gonzo gave, it's because of different reasons. That is, against Aston Villa, we have a 6'4" striker who was one of the best in the air in the Bundesliga last season, and we put in about one cross. Aaron Creswell's crosses are good. You can question his defence, you can question his pace, I accept that, but his crosses are bloody good, and we need to supply Sebastian Allaire, and I just think Creswell can do that, whereas Ben Johnson is naturally right-footed. I know he's both-footed, but if he went to take a penalty, he would take it with his right foot, and we've seen it Ben Johnson a couple of times at left-back where you sacrifice what an attacking left back can give you, because he just can't do it. It's not his fault. I'm not blaming Ben Johnson whatsoever. It's just that I would like to see Aaron Creswell add that attacking dimension down the left hand side. Now the other team news is not so great. Pellegrini has said that Manuel Lanzini is a doubt for Sunday and is undergoing a late fitness test tomorrow, which is Saturday. So we're going to play a hypothetical game twice on this episode. Tom, if Lanzini is out, I think you've got about two options. You've got Jack Wilshere and you've got Pablo Fornals. Who would you like to see bring in?
Pablo Fornals. I think he's obviously had a big price tag on for a club like us. There's a lot of expectation with his performances at the under-23s with Spain in the summer. And he fits into his sort of more natural position. He doesn't have to play down the right or the left, which we've seen him sort of floating around. He has that option to be the creative midfielder. He doesn't have to do it away from home either. He plays it. He's at home in front of our fans. I'm sure we'll be there to sort of support him. So he does have a point to prove. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's but he's just not shone, I think, as much as we would have expected him to. But that's again probably to the brilliance of what we would say Manuel Lanzini sort of getting back to his best. So I don't think it's Fornals' fault, but obviously if he's going to have that time to start and play in his more natural preferred position, then he's going to have to actually prove to us that he deserved the price tag he had. So for me, it's not a knock against Wilshere. I just think that in that sort of attacking midfield role to supply Allaire, it would definitely be Fornals for me.
Gonzo?
Well, that's bad news. I didn't know that news. But my answer is to both your questions, this one and the one you're about to ask afterwards, is Jack Wilshere on both instances, because I actually think, and I've been thinking about this anyway, even with Lanzini fit, because I would have put Jack Wilshere out into Yarmolenko's, but would have put Lanzini out into Yarmolenko's position and have him and Anderson swapping, and I was going to draft Jack Wilshere in then. For a very simple reason is Jack Wilshere will naturally hold a slightly deeper position in midfield, so it would actually almost make us have a three in midfield, which would just, I think, give us that solidity and allow us to match Man United for numbers in there. And it's the same reason again, even if Lanzini's out, I would just do a straight swap with Wilshere. I just think with him, Noble and Rice in there, I still think Wilshere breaks forward, but I think he's not the best tackler in the world, don't get me wrong, but I think when we lose possession, Jack Wilshere does get back into position and he will try and tackle as well. So for that reason, make us a little bit more solid.
I'm a bit 50-50 on this one, actually. It's rare that I'm so 50-50 on something, but I don't think Pellegrini can get it wrong. Either or, I can understand, for the reasons you have both given. Fornals, I don't think Fornals has had a big enough chance as Wilshere has at West Ham, but I do think, like Gonzo said, Wilshere will drop in and make it a 3, make it a bit tougher for Man United. Tom, Gonzo's already answered my second hypothetical question. He read my mind, and that is, if Lanzini is fit, would you make any other changes? Because obviously social media is primarily debating about whether Yarmolenko should start or whether he should be dropped in either Fornals or Wilshere comes in.
No, I don't think I would make changes. I didn't really get a chance to see a lot of the Aston Villa game because I was working the other night.
Plastic.
but I had an eye on the TV. But no, for me personally, I think it's similar to Lanzini. You know, he had a major injury. Obviously, he didn't get, I would say, a full pre-season under his belt. Obviously, he was working towards the end of last season, but maybe, you know, couldn't ramp up his preparation as much as he'd have liked to because he had to nurse it for some time. So I think he will come good eventually. And obviously would say that he likes playing at home in front of the fans. You know, he put a good performance in against Norwich last time he played at home. So for me, just, you know, with Antonio out, I don't see another player other than Lanzini playing in that position, which I don't think is his strongest suit. You know, having Yarmolenko and somebody that can cut in on their left foot, for me, naturally, I think he's the best fit to play over there. If Lanzini is fit anyway. So it's not I don't trust Lanzini on the wing, but I prefer him. I think he is best in his most creative role behind the striker. So for me, I would stick with Yarmolenko.
I would stick with Yarmolenko too, again for different reasons. One, I thought he was actually trying to create something against Aston Villa. He didn't manage it, but I felt out of him, Lanzini, Anderson, he was the one that was actually trying the riskier passes. He was trying the little deft touches with Alier. I think he linked up well with Alier, and every time Alier got the ball, he was sort of lining up to hit it with his left foot. As I have to say to the striker, you lay me off and I will hit it. And that's the second reason I would play him. He shoots. We don't have enough people in our team that hits it. How many times do we get to the edge of the box and we pass it around and it comes to nothing? Yarmolenko will hit it. And it can be frustrating at times because sometimes shooting is not the best option. Actually, there is a pass on for Yarmolenko, but he doesn't take it. And I just think his partnership with Fredericks is blossoming. I like what they're doing, the overlapping thing. And we're up against Ashley Young. Now, with the greatest of respect, he's been a very solid Premier League player. He's not a bad player. People laugh at him at that now, but he's in his mid-30s. He's like James Milner, but to a lesser degree. He's had to evolve a little bit over the times in the Premier League. He's had to adapt his game massively. I mean, the guy was a winger and he's now playing left back. But there's an opportunity there to get at him. He's their weak spot. You don't want to go up against Wan-Bissaka, who's one of the best tacklers in the league. You want to go down their other side where you've got an ageing Ashley Young who's right-footed playing at left back. And if Yarmolenko can drag him inside, it opens up all that room for Ryan Fredericks coming down the right. Confidence time. I'm sensing vibes from you. Gonzo's a bit more confident, I think. So Tom, I'm going to come with you first. Are you confident for this one, boy?
Yeah. There's nothing that would not make me confident so far this season. I think we've picked up points against the teams that, you know, previously we wouldn't have done. We've shown that we can, you know, because we would have always struggled against Norwich at home or Watford away or Brighton away to pick up a point. I think they've all been brilliant results so far. And obviously Man United are a depleted team. They're not used to be. They've had a game on Thursday night against Astana. You know, we're sort of fresh leg going into the weekend in front of the home crowd. I don't see why you wouldn't be overly confident. So I think that's just the mindset that Pellegrini has, and he's instilled in those players. And obviously the fans are starting to believe because we've got this, you know, potential world-class striker up top as well. So no, it's all coming good at the right time. So no, for me, I'm very confident for Sunday's game.
Gonzo, I had a bit of a spoiler for your confidence because we did a video last night, which we'll talk about in a minute. But for the people that haven't seen it yet, are you confident?
Yeah. Manchester United can beat us. Absolutely. They can come and they can beat us. They've got some really good players. But we've got some really good players as well. And we can absolutely beat them. Tom mentioned at home. That's quite key. We've become quite good at home. So that's really good. I think the players get confidence from that. And I just feel that it's a shame about Lanzini because if that is the case, hopefully it's not. Hopefully he plays. But I very much feel with Anderson and Lanzini, and then with Haller up top, I think we're really, really dangerous. And with those players, we have the better players, and they're going to have to decide how they're going to play tomorrow, Manchester United, because are they going to sit back and play counter-attacking football? I think they might. Are they going to just try and go for the full swashbuckle against us and try and get all the possession and be camped out in our half? I think if they try that, then they're in massive trouble because we're very, very good on the counter-attack. I'm confident. Did you want the score?
Not yet.
Okay. Then I'll end it there.
Gonzo, can you plug the video we did last night, please?
We did a video last night.
Right, okay. To further on from that, myself and Gonzo was a guest on the Football Terrace YouTube channel. It's a very good channel. we were on with the Man United fan who's quizzing us and disagreeing with us, to be honest with you. He didn't really like what we had to say. I think he appreciated it, he just didn't agree with it. And the link is in the description below, and it'll also be in the pinned comments below as well, so go check out if you can and say hello, I'm here from Hammers Chat, give him a nice warm welcome. And if you're here from the Football Terrace, hello and thank you for coming over, and you made it 25 minutes into the video. You've done pretty well. Before I get your score predictions from these two, Betway, we do a charity bet with Betway every week, and odds this week are pretty good. I've gone for West Ham to win, both teams to score, Sebastian Aller to score. If we have to, basically, my thinking is, Man U score, we have to score at least 2, and if we're scoring at least 2, there's a damn good chance Sebastian Aller's got at least one of them. And the last part is Ryan Fredericks to get booked, for reasons I alluded to earlier. He's up against a damn fast player. Regardless of who they put out there, he's up against someone fast. And it's 25 to 1. Big odds, I think, for that one. So you might be thinking, why will you win? Well, why me? Why not? Right, Tom? Tom, can I get your score prediction, please?
Yeah, very well done. Very well done. You're one of us, Gio. You're a good better. I think it'll be the same as last year. I'm going to go with 3-1. I think, again, for the reasons I alluded to, and the fact that they've had that midweek game as well. I just feel we're going to have too much from them. And rarely do I say that about Man United, but I'm just supremely confident with the way that we're playing at the minute. So yeah, for me, 3-1. I reckon I'll airbags as well.
Gonzo?
Well, I also have 3-1, and I have it as part of my accumulator, which is slightly better odds than your 25 to 1. I think I'm 11,500 to 1 for my odds on my accumulator. So yeah, 3-1 to West Ham, and yeah, I'm feeling really confident with this one, Gio. Looking forward to it. I can tell.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, but I'm still the same optimism as I was yesterday. I've become a bit more cautious. I think it's because every time I get this confident and hopeful, we usually disappoint. And when I go into games expecting a struggle like Norwich and we play really well, it's a really pleasant surprise and you come out feeling good. But I just think we've got enough about us. I think if Lanzini's massive though. If Lanzini's not fit, disclaimer, I would like to change my prediction, okay? But if Lanzini is fit, I'm feeling good, and well, it means we've got Wiltshire and or Fornals on the bench as well, possibly Yarmolenko, Ayeti. We've got game changers. Man United have potential game changers in Chong, but we don't know if they can do it yet. They just played in the Europa League. They didn't shine. And a lot of the fan base has been getting on the back. So not necessarily a fan base, but journalists and stuff have been sort of already criticising Chong. And it's completely unfair on the boy, but that might just dampen, it might just dent his confidence before Sunday, which will benefit West Ham. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham victory. Anyway, 3-1 from Tom, 3-1 from Gonzo. Pop over to the Hammers Chat forum channel, make sure you subscribe to that because Gonzo will have his reaction straight after the game on Sunday. Then on this channel you'll hear from myself, Charlie, and anybody that's on the boats that wishes to do a fan cam. Thank you for joining us on this video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll catch you on Sunday night. Catch you in a bit. Thank you for joining us on this preview of West Ham United against Manchester United. Don't forget to get your ticket for West Ham Women who are playing Spurs Women next Sunday at the London Stadium. Tickets are £1 for season ticket holders, £2 for other adults and kids. Go free, get your ticket, and Albert will see you there.